All right, for more on this big story, I'm joined by senior journalist Ahmed Shaheen from Pakistan. Thank you so much, Mr. Shaheen, for speaking to World is One News. The early trends suggest that PTI is leading and PML-N is at number 2. What is your assessment? I believe these are unofficial figures, but how do you see this pan out in the coming time?
As far as the results are concerned, right now, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is leading, but this is from 1% to 5% of the total votes that have been counted, so there can be a very large swing. Also, the main allies, the second and the third largest political parties as per the electoral results that are coming in, are the Pakistan Muslim League-N and Pakistan People's Party. These are two old political parties, and these political parties, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf might be leading in terms of the results, but a simple majority has to be formed to make a government, and it is still anybody's game when it comes to forming a government and appointing a prime minister. Right now, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf has a good margin over former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's government.
Right, Mr. Shaheen, we just played a soundbite of Imran Khan after he cast his vote and he appeared before the media. He was trying to draw a link between Nawaz Sharif and the Indian media. Apparently, he was responding to a question by journalists that Nawaz Sharif has been kind of soft on India, to which he said that he is the darling of Indian media. But for me, the interests of Pakistan come first. India is also watching this election, and for obvious reasons. What is your assessment? Because Imran Khan hasn't revealed his India policy yet. But from this kind of statement, what do you think will his attitude be towards India?
Imran Khan hasn't revealed a lot of his policies. A lot of things he says will reveal when the right time comes. India is one of them. The rhetoric in Pakistani elections when it comes to India is there is a simple baseline. There is mostly anti-India. Pakistan People's Party, which is a left political progressive party, has been calling Nawaz Sharif Modi ka yaar. So that is a political statement. There are other clips from Imran Khan, very recent clips, in which he's saying, why doesn't India like me? I've been so nice to them and I really like them. So Imran Khan speaks to the tunes of what is popular to be spoken about. Nawaz Sharif has also, in his last speech before the elections, mentioned the fact that India and Pakistan are rivals and we have to beat them, we have to leave them far behind. So that's very normal for Pakistani's electoral season. Obviously, Imran Khan thinks that it is more populist to bash India, and he will continue to do so. Also, the whole narrative that the Pakistani military and judicial establishment is helping him, and there is ample of suggestions in that favor. So all of that can only be countered that the international establishment or Indian establishment is behind Imran Khan's opponent. So instead of saying the Pakistani establishment is not behind him, he is proposing that it's India or CIA or RAW behind other candidates.
Right, Mr. Shaheen, please hold on. I'm also joined by WION's bureau chief, who's reporting from Pakistan's capital on the latest. Anas, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. What's happening? It's been a big day for Pakistan. We've seen people come out of their homes and vote, but we've also seen violence. We've also seen bomb blasts, and the early leads are suggesting that Imran Khan is leading. Please sum up the day for us.
Absolutely, Archana. It was a big day here in Pakistan. Pakistan went to vote. The people of Pakistan went to vote after 5 long years, and we saw a another democratic government completing its tenure. They started around 8 a.m. where the polling started, and it ended about 6 p.m. Since then, the poll count has started. Roughly 4 incidents of violence were reported. One in Karak in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the other in Hyderabad in Sindh. Another one in Larkana, and then that unfortunate incident in Quetta that actually targeted that was to be targeted a polling station, but it was averted with thanks to the valor shown by the security agencies. 31 people lost their lives in that day. Now, currently, as we speak, there is counting going on different seats of the National Assembly. Where I'm standing right now, it's NA 53. To my left is Imran Khan's Khan's house. The road straight ahead leads to Imran Khan's house. We've seen jubilations going on even now, despite the fact that a full and fledged result is to come as yet. But there are people who are already gathered outside Imran Khan's house. We've seen an increase in his security as well. An extra truck full of security person, including police elite commandos, have arrived at Imran Khan's house. We've witnessed that ourselves, and they've been deployed. So definitely Pakistan is anticipating him as the next Prime Minister, to be as the Prime Minister in waiting. The constituency in where I am standing, he's winning by he's leading from here by far a margin. The other contestant to him was former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Shahid Khaqan Abbasi, but Imran Khan is in clear majority to him as of the initial results that are coming in. So it is an interesting that has been folding. The PML-N had alleged that its voters were not given due space, as a result of which the polling time should be extended, and the same demand was later followed by the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and the Pakistan People's Party as well.
Right.
But the Election Commission did not pay much of a heed to it. So it has been an interesting day, and it continues on even now as we speak. Yes, Archana.
Right. Anas, one thing that comes to my mind is that since morning we've been seeing pictures of celebrities, the common man of Pakistan posting pictures on the social media, be it Twitter, on Facebook, asking everyone to come out and vote. Do we have the voter turnout figures yet, or is it too early? And secondly, you've been covering these elections comprehensively. You know the mood that's on ground. Since PTI is leading, what is driving the voter towards Imran Khan?
Well, Archana, let me just take you through what has to be kept in mind is that this is not the first time that general public vibe is towards PTI. The general public sentiment is towards PTI. It was the same in 2013 as well, more or less the same in 2013, where we saw a lot of charged youth coming out to support Imran Khan, but he did not end up making the government. In fact, he just hardly had 35 seats in that National Assembly. So it had been pretty significant. Now, coming to the other side of your question. The PTI had been, all in all, they had been the driving force for now in the opinion polls as well. And what also has to be kept in mind that there was not a level playing field, all in all, for other parties, as we saw, because we saw some candidates changing their loyalties and the candidates being threatened. We saw this thing of fear, a hope of a thing of fear in in our elections. Just ahead of the election, we saw 4 incidents of violence. Siraj Raisani from Balochistan was targeted, the ANP was targeted, in fact the PTI itself was targeted. So Imran Khan's party has more to gain. This time they had particularly focused on the corruption bit, and their claim to fame was that they had successfully managed to get Nawaz Sharif out from his seat of the Prime Minister and get him ousted from the Prime Minister office, and his claim to fame had been that along that line. So it has been really interesting. It has been a long day, and it continues even now here in Pakistan. Yes, Archana.
Right, Anas, please stay on with us. Let me now go across to our guests who are joining us on the broadcast. I'm joined by Emir Shaheen from Pakistan, and strategic affairs expert Sushant Sareen, who's on the broadcast, joining us from New Delhi. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Sareen, I wanted to ask you that these early trends that are tilting in the favor of Imran Khan, what is your assessment? Why do you think the voter of Pakistan, though it's still unofficial, but why do you think the voter of Pakistan is going to Imran Khan this election?
Well, I think, number one, I think while these trends are, they are very initial trends, but I think they would largely tend to hold, because that is what the field for these elections, the way it had been prepared, that is what it was. Let's face it, if you take out the prime candidate of the prime challenger, which was Muslim League-Nawaz, you take their prized candidate and their prized campaigner out of the equation, the campaign suffers hell of a lot. For almost a year, the Muslim League-Nawaz has been hounded, it has been victimized. Very senior leaders from the party have been made to desert the party. They have engineered defections. They have intimidated candidates. All sorts of things have happened. So obviously that does have an impact when you go into the election and when the polling takes place. If the voter gets the idea that maybe these guys will either not win or will not be allowed to win, it does sway the electorate. So I think a climate had been created whereby they were not able to campaign freely, they were not able to campaign the way they would have liked to. So I think it was a combination of factors which have led to the kind of results which we are seeing. And I would imagine that give or take a few seats, largely this kind of a result would hold. I would say that Imran would probably get about 100, maybe even 110, and then he'll be able to cobble together a majority with the independents coming to him and a few smaller parties if required. He won't have many numbers, he won't have a very large majority, but just enough to run the country, and which is what probably the people whose proxy he is would have wanted as an outcome of this election. So in that sense, I think all congratulations due to General Bajwa and his team, and I think they are the real winners.
Right, Mr. Sareen, we just played out a bite of Imran Khan right after he cast his vote, and he was speaking to the media, for which he is also facing the flag. He said that the Indian media loved Nawaz Sharif because Modi and Nawaz Sharif are close, and he said that for him Pakistan is his priority, and that sort of gave a signal of sort of a hawkish approach. It's too early to conjecture on that, but do you have any clarity, or what is your assessment on Imran Khan's policy towards India if at all he comes to power?
See, number one, I think on purely looking at Imran Khan, when the Indian media would invite him for their jamborees and pay him tons and tons of money, when they would invite him to comment, the Indian money was very kosher, it was very halal, but anything else that the Indian media writes in terms of its analysis of Pakistani politics, that is haram. This is precisely the kind of attitude I would have expected from a closet Islamist like Imran Khan, who people in India actually think might have been good for India or a friend of India because he knew many Indians. So that is one part of it. The other part of it is, I don't think he's going to have the India policy in his hand. I think the India policy has always been made in Rawalpindi. It will continue to be made in Rawalpindi. I think even Imran is not that stupid that he thinks that he will actually be making the India policy or the policy on terrorism or on any of the other issues. Essentially, this election is for the Municipal Commissioner of Pakistan, not for the Prime Minister of Pakistan.
All right. Another question that comes to everybody's mind, and I have three gentlemen with us. Our bureau chief is reporting from Pakistan. Then I have Ahmed Shaheen from Pakistan, and Mr. Sareen, you are there. The visuals that we've seen from Pakistan are of Hafiz Saeed casting his vote in Lahore. He's a global terrorist. He's a mastermind of the Mumbai terror attacks. From each of you, I wanted to understand, what do these visuals talk about Pakistan's position on terror? First, I would like to go to Anas Malik, who's been covering these elections, and he has been sensing the pulse of the people on ground. Anas, if I may come to you, what have the voters of Pakistan embraced Hafiz Saeed, or have they rejected? The early trends are still there, but what is the response from the people of Pakistan? Do they reckon that Hafiz Saeed is a global terrorist?
Well, Archana, you have to break down the question Hafiz Saeed, primarily because the question on Hafiz Saeed is broad. The people of Pakistan have not accepted Hafiz Saeed as their leader except for a certain fraction, precisely a cult following. Again, the deep state of Pakistan, however, they think the otherwise. Precisely the ISI or the deep state, they think that the people like Hafiz Saeed are still strategic assets of Pakistan. The reason we saw this attempt of mainstreaming the terrorist organizations, fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately for us, for people, senior people like us and Ahmed Shaheen and others, and unfortunately for the deep state, is that Hafiz Saeed was put on that global terrorist list by the US, and he is one of the reasons that Pakistan is still on the FATF list as well. As a result of which, the Pakistani deep state has somehow realized that mainstreaming him would not be ideal, so they got his son instead. Again, we did we haven't seen him taking much of the seats. But it is more to do. It speaks volume of Pakistan's deep state's duplicit policies and the fact that they still treat him as a strategic asset. Yes, Archana.
Mr. Shaheen, let me come to you. What is your take on those visuals coming out of Pakistan? Hafiz Saeed, the global terrorist, casting his vote. His relatives are contesting these elections. What do you think the voter of Pakistan will do with Hafiz Saeed? They are aware of the fact that he is a globally designated terrorist, and his party at first was rejected by the Election Commission of Pakistan, but he found a way out and still somehow managed to get in the mainstream.
Yes, he's been allowed to get into the mainstream, and if you look at Hafiz Saeed's vote bank, it does not make a difference on its own. But referring to your earlier question, that how did Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf garner so many new votes? That is how. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf has always supported Hafiz Saeed, and rather than calling him a terrorist, has called him a hero. That's the narrative they go with. So when the Grand Democratic Alliance, GDA, that has been formed to counter the Pakistan People's Party, these alliances of political forces are always formed. This time it's GDA and PTI. Last time it was PML-Q, the King's Party. Before that it was IJI, Islami Jamhuri Ittihad. So when all these setups are created, then smaller pockets like Hafiz Saeed and the lot, which includes band outfits and almost people of all color, races and ideologies, they are banded together to create a vote bank. So Hafiz Saeed's vote bank by itself is nothing, but when you band 15 other outfits like that, then Hafiz Saeed's vote can add to PTI's seats and form the government. It also enables the military establishment to have a pull on the government, because Hafiz Saeed would listen to the Pakistani military more than anybody else. So if Imran Khan wants to appoint his favorite foreign minister, or if Imran Khan wants to be more friendly with neighboring countries, including India, and not listen to Rawalpindi, then these are the forces that act against you. These are the first people. The electables are the second people. Imran Khan's party is full of electables. So people like Hafiz Saeed and the electables are what the non-democratic forces use to control the democratically elected government. And they are very important. They cannot win seats, but they help control the democratic governments.
Right. Mr. Sareen, what is your take? It's not new for Indians. We've seen Hafiz Saeed, the global terrorist, being shard with flower petals in a court premise. We've seen him in a sham house arrest, and now today we saw visuals of him voting in Pak elections. What do you think the next government of Pakistan, is it going to do anything at all, or will it be just the same rhetoric all over again, that we are also victims of terror, and since there is no proof that India has given on Hafiz Saeed, so why act against him at all?
Well, number one, I think we should understand that for many Pakistanis, Hafiz Saeed is a celebrity. He is not a terrorist, and that includes people in the media, that includes people in the government, in the military, in the judiciary, you name it. So I think there is that problem in Pakistan. The second thing is, I completely agree with what Mr. Shaheen is saying. I don't think these guys are going to win too many seats, but they could garner a number of votes. But what is more dangerous, not so much from India's point of view, but more from Pakistan's point of view, is that these are guys who are now being given a kind of legitimacy and a kind of visibility which they probably did not have earlier. I think they are being given, a certain degree of credibility and participation in the process. So earlier, the kind of veto they used to wield on the streets of Pakistan, now they will be able to have their house carried in the houses of parliament and what have you. So that, I think, in many ways is a bigger concern. But most importantly, in terms of policy, I think the policy, like I said earlier, the policy will continue to be made by the military establishment. Even if Hafiz Saeed became the Prime Minister of Pakistan, the India policy and the terror policy would continue to be made by the military and the Department of Agriculture or the ISI. So that even Hafiz Saeed would not have a say on. But I think if anybody expected that with a new election, a new government, there would be some forward movement, the Pakistanis would crack down on terrorism, they would start dismantling the terror factories which exist out there. I'm afraid that's not going to happen. That's neither the mandate of the government nor within its competence to handle that part of the equation. That's not going to happen.
Right. Gentlemen, another key question that comes to everybody's mind is the economy of Pakistan. Imran Khan has promised to generate about 10 lakh jobs, and then the economy is in tatters. There's a debt that Pakistan has to China. Then another thing is, unemployment, and the Pakistani rupee has fallen at least 20% this year. So, how are these candidates planning to tackle the issue of economy? Mr. Shaheen, to you first.
I think the economic numbers that Imran Khan and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf comes up with, other political parties set their marks really high, but the kind of numbers that they talk about, hundreds of thousands of jobs within the first 100 days, not years, and all of the other impossible, like more impossible than impossible things that they talk about, makes the pro-Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf want to vote for him, but also skeptics want him to come into power and just expose the fact that the things that are being promised are deliberately not even possible. Imran Khan and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf do not have a clear vision when it comes to the economy, and that is the case with them on so many other issues. But Imran Khan is a candidate just like Donald Trump. Donald Trump famously said that even if he shoots somebody in the middle of the street, his voters are still to vote for him. And that's pretty much the case with Imran Khan's young following. They would want to follow him no matter what.